The changelog for Kitten Space Agency has been buzzing lately, so let's have a look at what the developers have been cooking. Hello everybody and welcome! It's been a few weeks since we last did a progress checkup on Kitten Space Agency, a spiritual successor to the space simulation game legend Kerbal space program. My last videos concerning KSA were more about some general topics, but haven't gone too deep into the work that's being done by the development team at RocketWorks. Well, time to change that. Today, I'm going to present you 5 new things in Kitten Space Agency, one of which is something I would have loved to have in KSP for years. And if you want to stay in the loop regarding KSA development, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm constantly monitoring what's going on with that game and will brief you on anything newsworthy. And there is also videos on other space-related topics, but recently you guys seem to prefer the KSA content. That being said, let's start with the most obvious new thing: gorgeous graphics. Here's a comparison between the first time we saw the seamless transition from orbit to surface that was posted roughly 7 months ago in October 2024. And here's how it looks now. We now have improved lighting, there's lens flare, terrain shadows, and everything just feels more, I think visceral is the word I'm looking for. It just goes to show how much you can get done when you have the right people on board. And with BlackRack working his magic on lighting and clouds, and Lynx doing what he does best on terrain, there's some serious visual effects brainpower at the KSA development team, and it shows. If you don't know, BlackRack did the fantastic Scatterer mod for Kerbal Space Program, improved its look with deferred rendering, and has developed a volumetric cloud mod. And Lynx is the modder who gave us Parallax, which vastly improves how surfaces look inside the game. So that example was of the moon in KSA. How about Mars? Well, this is a shot of a vehicle in Mars orbit, and you can see the red light reflected from the surface itself being reflected by the ship's metal body, caused by what's called planet shine. In the video the developers provided, we can also see what has become known as God rays on Mars and some screenshots of them on Earth. BlackRack has also been working on volumetric exhaust plumes for rocket engines as well as RCS thrusters. We can see multiple instances still being performant in early test footage, and also the RCS thrusters utilizing this in a more recent video. With some pride, the devs call these the best RCS thruster effects ever created, and they might be right about that. Granted, the space simulation game genre is still a bit niche, not that much competition yet. But they managed to get their spacecraft to Mars and not by teleporting it there. How? Well, they have already implemented a form of interplanetary transfer. In a previous video, I already highlighted how the maneuver nodes work in Kitten Space Agency. Basically, anyone familiar with KSP will quickly get the hang of it in this new game. What has been added is a new transfer planning tool. It appears to be able to create a new maneuver for your desired destination based on criteria like best transfer, best delta V, and best closest approach, which are all subject to change since this is still a work in progress. We can also see a pork chop plot, something that is actually being used in real life for space mission planning, albeit a bit more detailed. In KSP, a feature like this was available through mods like Transfer Window Planner and the always popular MechJab. Just like with those mods, when you click on any part of the pork chop, the data in Selected Transfer will change accordingly. Something new that KSA brings to the table is the checkbox Display Selected Transfer. This renders a preview of the chosen trajectory so you can visualize this flight plan without having to create a maneuver, something I really want to try out for myself. The Transfer Planner is a relatively fresh addition to KSA, so I would expect that there are going to be a couple of tweaks and changes to this feature over the next couple of weeks. But it appears that whenever we can get our hands on the first build of KSA, we will already be able to travel to other planets with a little bit of integrated help. Something that will also help are changes to how information is presented to us players. meaning the developers made some important UI upgrades. Did you ever think the UI in games nowadays is kind of fuzzy and washed out? Well, Rocketworks CEO Dean Hall seems to think it is, which is why he completely changed how the UI elements are rendered in Kitten Space Agency, starting with the nav ball. Basically, it is now a procedural fragment. And to his credit, it remains crisp and legible no matter how big it is or wherever it is being placed. In a lengthy post on the game's development Discord, Dean admits that doing the UI elements this way might be less performant than doing it the traditional way. On the other hand, this gives the developers more options going forward. For instance, when it comes to utilizing instruments when using an upcoming cockpit view. While I think this is super cool, I noticed the altimeter gauge on top, which is where KSP headed as well. Say about the ill-fated sequel KSP2 whatever you will. One of the things they did do right was trying to unify all necessary flight information in one place. That way your eyes don't have to wander across the screen all the time. While it is still very early days in KSA development, I do hope they include some of the lessons that were learned between KSP and KSP2 and not just completely write off the second installment. Yes, it fell behind expectations and was also killed off before it even had a chance to really spread its wings, but there are a few things in there that I believe deserve to be salvaged. See also my video on the subject, link is in the description. But there are more improvements to the UI. One of the things KSA does differently from KSP is that there is no dedicated map view. Instead, thanks to the seamlessness of the game, you can just zoom out as far as you like and see the entire solar system that way. To make this quicker, the developers added a map button which just switches between two predefined zoom factors for the camera. Speaking of camera, we also got a preview of the camera modes for KSA. So far there are Parent, Stars, Chase, Surface and Orbit. There might be more in the future, or maybe even less. As with everything regarding this game, it's all a work in progress. But some of the work got me very excited, and that is multi-window support. I have wanted to have this in Kerbal Space Program for ages, and I admit mine might be a niche use case. I have a widescreen monitor with a resolution of 3840 by 1600 pixels. I like to play my games either full screen or windowed at 1440p. KSP is in the latter category since I tend to have some Delta V maps open alongside it or watch some YouTube videos at the same time while waiting for a lengthy transfer burn to finish, or building a vehicle and listening to someone explain complex physics or the secrets of cosmology to me in the meantime. I always thought it would be great to have parts of the KSP UI detachable. For instance, have the map view or the part action menus all in a separate window outside of the main gameplay window. Well, it appears that at least somebody at Rocketworks had similar feelings. Because check this out. Kitten Space Agency has multi-window support. In this video, we can see the settings menu being pulled outside of the main game window. But this is not where the capabilities of KSA will end. According to an earlier post, players will be able to render their main vessel view in one window and the target view of the planet where they want to end up in another one. This way we can have an eye on where our trajectory ends up without having to switch to map view all the time. Also, this will enable players to set up peripherals that will show different elements of the game, like multifunction displays similar to what is used in real-world airplanes and spacecraft. If you are very much into the simulation aspect of these types of games, this feature is for you. Either way, this is going to be really cool once we can finally get our hands on KSA. When will that be? Well, let's have it. My final news item for you. Public build soon-ish. It seems like an eternity ago when I interviewed Dean Hall and we talked all things KSA, if an eternity is roughly 6 months long. Back then, he said he wanted to put an early alpha of the game into the public's hands in early 2025. Well, we're now almost halfway through that year and there has been no public alpha build in sight. One of the reasons for this is the publication plan for KSA. It will be available for free, but is supposed to be financed through what Rocketworks calls contributions, whatever those will be. And more importantly, the game will not be available through Steam. Once the distribution question is solved, things will start moving towards a first public build. From what me and other insiders were told, this should happen within the next 2 months. Maybe. Even if it is 4 months from now, that would still be less than 1 year after the initial Kitten Space Agency announcement and therefore a lot faster between reveal and first public alpha compared to KSP2, which was announced in 2019 and went into early access in 2023. What do you think? Will we have the game in our hands within the next 2 months? Or is that too optimistic based on what you can see in my videos and over at the Rocketworks Discord? Drop a comment to let me know. A lot of you have negatively reacted to KSA not coming to Steam, which I personally think is an overblown reaction. Maybe because I grew up finding my games by typing their path into the DOS command line and later manually installing everything on early Windows versions. But I have to admit, I do not fully understand Dean Hall's complete and passionate aversion to Steam, probably because I never published a game on that platform. But an unlikely source made me grasp this problem a little bit better. Nate Simpson, former creative director for KSP2. Since he was fired together with the entire studio that had developed KSP2, he has been working on a new game together with a friend. It's a co-op multiplayer game called Maelstrom, where you need to deliver packages while simultaneously fighting against space monsters. From what I heard, it should be pretty fun actually. All that aside, Nate recently published a video about Next Fest, where indie developers can show off demos of their games. In his video, he said he and his friend wanted to release the game in a new way, have it at a couple of cents and increase the price over time depending on how many new features were added. Apparently, this is a big no-no for the Steam algorithm because, as Nate learned from more seasoned indie devs, games that increase their price will be punished in discoverability. So, no, you are apparently not allowed to think outside the box. You have to game the Steam algorithm to get noticed and maybe have a chance to make a little bit of money off of your indie game. It might be that Rocketworks just doesn't want to do this song and dance anymore, among other things they don't like about Steam. I have only tried out Maelstrom for a few minutes, but it does have a distinct vibe to it. Would you be interested in me checking this game out here on the channel? Let me know in the comments. Finally, let's talk about the state and direction of KSA. While I am personally excited for the game, I can understand each and every one of you that have been burned by the heightened expectations before KSP2 went into early access. A lot of you are curbing your enthusiasm, and rightly so. The first build, whether we get it in 2, 4 or 6 months, is going to be an early alpha. No playable characters, no vehicle building, just the basics of orbital physics and vehicle control. And of course, so far we have only seen what the developers were willing to show us, which is a lot more real gameplay than what we were allowed during KSP2's development thanks to publisher Take-Two's harsh restrictions on communication. Whatever the result, you can be sure I'm going to keep a close eye on what is going to happen with KSA. And if you enjoy what I do, please consider supporting the channel over on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member. You can get special perks depending on the tier you choose, for instance, your name showing up here together with all of these wonderful people. Some of you have supported me for years and I'm incredibly grateful for that. My dream is that one day this channel might be able to support itself without ads or sponsorships. So if you don't want to see me shilling for VPNs and the like, Patreon or YouTube membership is the way to go. And before I go, I want to put a final question to you. which part of KSA are you looking forward to the most? Or vice versa, what worries you the most about this game's development? Let me know in the comments or head on over to my Discord server where we can discuss all of that. Link is in the description.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.